Hi guys. Thank you for tuning back in. If you have not seen the part 1 of this video, please check our channel now. In this second part, Karma is about to catch up with the pastor's wife, Elena. Sara stood at the microphone, trembling. The church was silent. Too silent. Even the air felt heavy. Marco watched her, confused. Elena watched her, terrified. Luca watched her, praying she would stay quiet. Sara swallowed hard. Pastor. I don't want to hurt anyone, she said, her voice breaking. But you prayed that God should expose what is hidden. A whisper ran through the pews. Elena's fingers tightened around her handbag until her knuckles whitened. I saw something. Weeks ago, Sara continued, her voice shaking. Something that wasn't right. Marco's breath caught. What did you see, Sara? He asked. Sara closed her eyes, tears spilling out. I saw your wife in the counseling room with Luca. Gasps exploded through the church. Luca's head dropped. Elena's chest rose sharply, her breath catching. Pastor Marco froze. I'm sorry. I didn't want to say it, Sara sobbed. But you prayed that God should reveal what is hidden. Marco's heart felt like it had been struck. Luca, is this true? He asked. Luca lifted his head slowly. His face was pale, eyes red. Pastor. I didn't, it wasn't. But before he could finish, Elena stepped forward. Her steps were slow. Confident. Calculated. My husband, may I speak? She asked calmly. Marco looked at her, stunned. Elena, please tell me Sara is mistaken, he said. Elena breathed in deeply, her curvy Jamaican frame trembling just slightly. Sara misunderstood, she said. I was counseling Luca. He struggles emotionally. I was comforting him. That is all. Her voice was smooth. Too smooth. Sara shook her head violently. No. That's not all. I heard things. Elena turned, eyes sharp. Sara, you are a good woman. But sometimes tired minds hear things incorrectly. The tone was soft, but the threat underneath was hard. Sara stepped back, terrified. The congregation murmured, unsure who to believe. Marco looked between his wife, and Luca, and Sara. His world was spinning. A man in the back shouted, I don't believe her. Elena has been too close to several men. Another woman stood. Ask Paolo. She always flirts with him. Paolo, sweating, shook his head rapidly. I don't know anything. Please leave me out of this. Carlo clutched his notebook and whispered, God forgive us. David stared at the piano, refusing to lift his head. The church was falling apart. Marco slammed his hand on the pulpit. Stop. He shouted. The church froze. His voice lowered, shaking. No more shouting. Elena. Luca. Come to my office. Now. He stepped off the stage. Elena's eyes narrowed, she did not want to go. Luca looked like he couldn't breathe. Sara collapsed onto a pew, crying. The church buzzed like a hive ready to explode. Marco shut the office door harshly. The three of them stood inside. Elena, beautiful, composed, dangerous. Luca, trembling, guilt written all over him. Marco, broken. Marco turned to Luca. Look me in the eyes, he said. Luca lifted his head, tears falling. Did you touch my wife? Marco asked. Luca shook his head rapidly. No. No, Pastor. I swear, but, she. Enough, Luca. Elena snapped. Marco's jaw clenched. Elena. Did you encourage him? He asked. Elena looked at her husband with soft, innocent eyes. Marco, he misunderstood me, she said. I was being supportive. Kind. Nothing more. No. That's not true. Luca burst out. You made me feel. Elena whirled on him, her green eyes blazing. Be careful, Luca, she warned. Marco looked between them. The truth was leaking out like blood from a wound. Tell me the truth, one of you, he whispered. Silence. Elena's chest rose and fell. Her warm brown skin glowed under the office lamp. Her soft curves and confident stance made her look like a woman who had never admitted defeat in her life. She finally spoke. Marco, if you don't trust me, she said softly, then there is nothing more to say. She walked to the door. Elena, please, Marco reached for her arm. I need air, she said, pulling away. She opened the door and walked out, leaving Marco and Luca alone in suffocating silence. Marco collapsed into his chair. Luca, tell me everything, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Luca broke. Pastor. I tried to avoid her. I tried to stay away. But she made me feel important. She made me feel seen. Marco's eyes closed. Pain covered his face. She told me, she felt invisible, Luca continued, crying. She told me she was lonely. She told me things a married woman shouldn't say. Pastor, I swear, I never touched her. But, my heart got confused. Did she ever say she loved you? Marco asked. Luca shook his head. No, but she didn't need to. Her eyes, her smile, it felt like she chose me. Marco's chest tightened. The truth was louder now. Outside the office, Elena walked down the hallway. Her heels clicked sharply. Her breath was quick. Her eyes were wild. She was not afraid of Marco. She was afraid of losing control. They will not take my life from me, she whispered to herself. I built this. I will not be exposed. But as she turned the corner, Sara stood there. Frozen. Shaking. Eyes red from crying. Elena stared at her coldly. You should have stayed quiet, Elena said in a low voice. Sara stepped back, hands trembling, but she didn't run this time. I told the truth, Sara said softly, but firmly. Elena's jaw tightened. You don't know what truth is, Elena replied. I know God heard you, Sara said. And I know Luca is not lying. Elena stepped closer. Her warm Jamaican skin glowed under the corridor lights. Her soft curves filled the narrow hallway. Her eyes were sharp like knives. Stay out of my way, Sara, she whispered. She walked past her. Sara collapsed against the wall. Word spread through the church like wildfire. Whispers. Accusations. Fear. Some supported Elena. She's beautiful, people are jealous. She is the pastor's wife. She would never. Others doubted her. She's too friendly. What about the counseling room? She always touches people when she talks. Some blamed Luca. Some blamed Sara. Some blamed the devil. Belmonte was on fire. Late that night, Marco sat alone in the living room. His Bible was open. His heart was broken. He stared at the verse he had preached earlier, expose what is hidden. His hands shook. God, please, show me the truth, even if it destroys me, he prayed. He heard a soft noise behind him and turned. Elena stood in the doorway, beautiful, confident, calm. Are you going to believe gossip, or your wife? She asked. Elena, did you betray me? Marco's voice broke. She stepped closer. Her eyes softened, her voice melted. Marco. I love you. You are my husband. All I have done is tried to help your people, she said. She knelt in front of him. Please, don't let them turn you against me. Marco stared into her green eyes. What he saw there wasn't fear. Wasn't innocence. It was calculation. His stomach twisted. But Elena leaned in, resting her head on his lap, whispering, choose me, Marco. Not them. Marco closed his eyes. He didn't know what to believe anymore. The next morning, the church door was found unlocked. Lights were left on. And on Marco's desk lay a second anonymous letter. This one was shorter, written in different handwriting. Pastor, if you don't act fast, you will lose everything. Marco's heart stopped. Someone else knew. Someone else had seen something. Someone who wasn't Sara. In the choir room later that day, Luca was practicing alone. He strummed one chord, then another, but his hands were shaking. He heard footsteps and turned. Elena stood in the doorway, her dark green dress hugging her full, curvy Jamaican figure. Her brown hair was loose around her shoulders. Her eyes were intense. We need to talk, she said softly. Luca backed away. No. No more. I want no more trouble, he said. You promised you would keep my secrets, Elena replied, stepping forward. Elena, stop. Please, Luca begged. People know. Pastor knows. Her green eyes glowed in the dim light. Then you'd better say nothing, she said. Or I will make sure they blame you. Luca froze. She held all the power. At least, she thought she did. Because someone else was watching, hidden in the shadow of the hallway. Sara. Again. Her eyes widened as she realized Elena wasn't done. Elena was dangerous. That night, Marco called a private meeting. A closed-door meeting. Only the leadership. Only the people involved. Luca. Sara. Paolo. Carlo. David. And Elena. They all arrived, unsure, afraid, tense. Elena walked in last, head held high, dress glowing under the lights, her curves commanding the room. Marco stood at the front. Tonight, he said quietly, we find the truth. Everyone looked at Elena. Everyone looked at Luca. Everyone looked at Marco. But none of them knew. Before the night ended, one of them would break. One of them would confess. One of them would be exposed. The room was too small for the pressure inside it. Marco stood at the front, palms sweating, eyes fixed on the faces before him. Luca sat rigid, staring at the floor. Sara clasped her hands tightly, whispering prayers under her breath. Paolo and Carlo exchanged nervous glances. David avoided everyone's eyes. And Elena. Elena stood gracefully, her warm Jamaican skin glowing softly under the meeting room lights, her curves outlined in a dark burgundy dress that commanded attention the moment she entered. She looked calm. Almost serene. Marco cleared his throat. Tonight, no one leaves until we speak the truth. The door closed with a heavy click. The confession no one expected. For several seconds, no one spoke. The silence was suffocating. Then suddenly, Paolo stood up, shaking. I can't hold it anymore. Paolo blurted. All eyes snapped toward him. Paolo pointed a trembling finger, not at Elena, but at David. David, tell them what you told me, he shouted. David's face drained of color. Marco stared at him. What did you tell Paolo? Marco asked sharply. David swallowed hard. I saw something, he whispered. Months ago. Before Luca. Before Sara ever said anything. He lifted his eyes, guilt heavy in them. I saw Elena, meeting a man late at night behind the church. A man who wasn't Luca, and wasn't you, Pastor. A collective gasp filled the room. Elena's expression didn't break, but her eyes darkened, like a shadow passing over them. Marco took a step forward. "Elena, is this true?" She slowly turned her head toward him. Her voice was soft. Almost seductive. "Marco," she said gently, "you know people twist what they see." Her gaze locked with his, intense, warm, dangerous. His breath caught. Even now, even with everything falling apart, she could still pull him in, still stir something warm and painful inside his chest. Luca looked away. He couldn't watch it. Sara whispered, "Pastor, be strong." But Elena stepped closer to Marco. Too close. "Don't let them ruin what we have," she breathed, her voice trembling with emotion. "You're the only man I ever loved. The only one who ever truly saw me." Marco's throat tightened. Her perfume surrounded him, soft, sweet, intoxicating. For a moment, just a moment, the room felt like it disappeared. Just him and Elena. Just two hearts fighting in silence. Then. Bang. The door slammed open. Everyone jumped. A woman stood in the doorway. Tall. Confident. Familiar. Her eyes, sharp and cold, locked straight onto Elena. And her voice sliced through the room. "Elena, tell them who the man was, or I will." The room froze. Elena's face finally cracked. Just for a second. Marco's heart dropped. Luca's eyes widened. Sara grabbed Paolo's arm. And the woman stepped inside, closing the door slowly behind her. The heavy door clicked shut behind her. The room, already thick with tension, now felt suffocating. The air was too tight. No one moved. Marco stared, stunned. Elena's perfectly composed face twitched, barely. Luca's chest rose and fell rapidly. Sara clutched her cloth tighter, standing just behind the others. Her eyes narrowed. She recognized the woman. So did a few others. Her name? Annalisa de Luca. She'd once led the women's ministry. Elegant. Soft-spoken. Intelligent. She left suddenly 4 months ago. No reason. No explanation. Now here she was, back. In the room where secrets were unraveling. Annalisa's heels echoed as she stepped forward. Her voice was quiet. But steady. "Elena, tell them who the man behind the church was, or I will." All eyes turned. Elena didn't speak. Her jaw clenched. Marco looked between the two women, heart thudding. "Elena, who is she talking about?" Silence. Luca stepped back. Sara whispered a prayer. Annalisa took a deep breath. "I was that man. Or woman. However you want to say it." Gasps. A ripple of voices. Disbelief. Confusion. "I was the first person Elena used. Not Carlo. Not Luca. Me." She turned to the others. "She came to me. Broken. Or at least that's what I thought. She said she was trapped in a cold marriage. That Marco only saw her as a helper, not a woman. She said she needed a friend, someone who saw her. Then one night, behind the church. She paused. Voice shaking. She kissed me. Everyone was frozen. Marco's eyes closed. Elena whispered, finally. "Annalisa, stop. Please." Annalisa's voice sharpened. "You told me I was special. That I understood you. But the next day, you avoided me. You lied to the pastor. You told him I was moving away for work." She looked around the room. "She has played all of us. With kindness. With perfume. With secrets. But it was never about love. It was about power. Luca couldn't speak. Sara's lips trembled. Marco stepped forward slowly, voice heavy. Elena, please. I need the truth. She turned to him. For the first time, her eyes were wet. But her voice still carried strength. What do you want me to say, Marco? That I was lonely. That I felt invisible. That I had needs no one saw. You think because I'm your wife, I stopped being human? No. But I thought we were one. I thought we were holy. You were holy. I was surviving. She turned to the others. You all want to judge me? Fine. But I only revealed what was already broken inside this church. The men who looked at me didn't see their pastor's wife. They saw temptation. And none of them turned away. Luca finally spoke. I did try to turn away. But you kept pulling. Because you let me. Because you liked being needed. Marco whispered. And what about me, Elena? Did you ever love me? She paused. Her green eyes flickered. I loved who you used to be. Before the church. Before you loved the people more than your wife. Silence. It was the final nail. Sara suddenly stepped forward. Her voice stronger than before. I used to think I was invisible here. Just the cleaner. But maybe I was the only one seeing clearly. She turned to Marco. Pastor, you prayed for God to expose the darkness. He has. Marco nodded. Slowly. Painfully. He looked at the people in the room. Carlo broken. Paolo ashamed. David silent. Luca shattered. And Elena, no longer mysterious. Just, human. Marco finally spoke. Elena Romano. As your husband, and as your pastor, I cannot cover this anymore. He took off his wedding ring and placed it on the table. You are my wife. But you cannot be my partner in ministry. Elena stared at the ring. She didn't cry. She just walked toward the door. She paused at the threshold. One last time. None of you really knew me. Not even you, Marco. But maybe that's the price of pretending to be perfect. And then she was gone. The next morning. Santa Lucia Church was quieter than it had ever been. The chairs were empty. The altar untouched. The piano silent. Marco stood alone in the sanctuary. He opened his Bible. The same verse again. Everything hidden will be brought to light. He closed it. Tears streamed down his face. Sara stood at the back, mop in hand, watching silently. Marco whispered. God. I don't feel strong. But thank you. For loving this church enough to break it. So you can rebuild it. Outside, the sun was rising over Belmonte. For the first time in weeks. It felt clean. Weeks later. Elena had left town quietly. Annalisa moved back in with her sister. Luca resigned from leading worship. But he started writing music again. Sara was offered a permanent staff role, not cleaning. She was now church administrator. Marco began therapy. And healing. The church was smaller. But stronger. No more secrets. No more shadows. Sometimes, what breaks us, is what saves us. Santa Lucia Church lost its star. But found its soul. And Sara? The cleaner? The nobody? God used her to sweep out the dirt. And shine his light. Thank you for watching, guys. We've officially wrapped up The Pastor's Wife Seduces All the Men in the Church, Part 2. Let us know in the comments what you think about Elena. Was she a villain? A victim? Or something in between? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Crystal Chronicles. We'll be back with another chilling story.